All right, 2 weeks behind on GAC videos. I didn't even record all of them because I honestly just kind of gave up. Back to work physically and trying to catch up and just didn't give a shit about GAC. Plus GAC, week in, week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, blah, 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 blah. Fuck it. Anyway, today is Tuesday? Oh, it's le 14 juillet. So, happy 14 juillet to all you frogs. Yeah, it is French, the anniversary of the revolution. It's kind of like French Independence Day. So, yeah, it's probably more known as Bastille Day because it really is the storming of the Bastille, because obviously the French Revolution went on for more than just one day. Yeah. Yay, vive la France. Anyway, so the markets were really, really good today. Monday, yesterday, they were really, really good, and then all of a sudden they shit the bed as California decided to reclose indoor dining. But then today, the markets were very, very good off of some, not all, bank earnings. Specifically, JP Morgan and Citigroup were pretty good after the close on Monday. That wasn't all of it. CPI number was pretty much in line with expectations. But then aftermarket, oh my God. After the market closed today, Moderna reported, I think, 100% quote-unquote robust immune response in their vaccines. It looked like, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was amongst all recipients of all varying doses of their coronavirus vaccine. So, unsurprisingly, the market reacted very, very well to that in after-hours trading. And the market is, at the moment, meant to open up by at least another 200 points tomorrow. So that's good. One less thing, except we're not quite there yet because they're entering phase 3 trials later this month, within the next week and a half or so. So if phase 3 goes very well, then I think everyone can breathe a sigh of relief, because I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, at worst, if that vaccine is effective, then it'll basically turn this coronavirus into flu season. Insofar as if you get a flu shot, you're good for that season. You're not good indefinitely, because viruses mutate and change, and there are different strains. So I really think best case scenario, that is what we're going to get with a coronavirus vaccine. It will be seasonal at best, because, again, and I've said this in previous videos, when you get over a cold, a common cold, you may not know it, may not realize it, but you have antibodies to that strain of that cold, which is caused by a comparatively normal coronavirus. The problem is your body kind of pushes out those antibodies after a pretty short period of time. So if you have a weakened immune system, or aren't getting enough sleep, aren't eating properly, aren't hydrating properly, or just have bad luck, you could very easily get a quote-unquote common cold twice in one season. May not necessarily be the same strain, and there's really no way that you would ever know that, because if you go to a doctor, they'll say, oh, you have the cold, like you have a cold, to go home and rest. So if that is also the case with this strain, this novel strain of coronavirus, then you theoretically might need 2 coronavirus vaccines, depending on where you live, what the season is. You might need one in October and then another one in January. Depends on how long the antibodies last, and we won't know that for quite some time. So I think best case scenario, a coronavirus vaccine will basically be like the flu vaccine. You'll have to get it every year. They're going to have to try to predict the strain or adapt to a new mutation in the coronavirus every year, which is what they at least attempt to do with the flu. There are many different strains of flu, and I think flu vaccines, I could be wrong, but I think they only get it right like a quarter of the time. And sometimes I believe the flu, there's multiple kinds of flu vaccines, of course. I think a lot of people kind of go with just like the broad spectrum, which covers a lot of the more common flu strains. So maybe something like that will be developed for corona, which I'd be interested to see if you do get the coronavirus, like the novel coronavirus vaccine, if that would help you stave off a comparatively normal coronavirus, like an actually common cold. I don't know. Time will tell. Science will tell. Trust in the science. Don't trust it entirely because numbers can be manipulated and interpretations can certainly vary. Someone could be very high on results and someone could be more realistic. But yeah, trust the science, but make sure you get the full picture. But above all, wear a fucking mask because it significantly decreases your risk of getting coronavirus, any strain. So wear a fucking mask. Even California had to re-close indoor dining because clearly indoor dining is not safe yet. So quit fucking around. Yeah, so Moderna reported very, very, very good phase 2 results. They look to move on to phase 3, I think July 27th or some shit like that, late in July. So that is promising. I saw an article where it was really a stock analyst's coverage of potential vaccines. So, of course, take that with a pound of salt. But they are of the opinion that Moderna and Pfizer/BioNTech are the two most viable candidates to develop a coronavirus vaccine within the next 6 to 8 months or so. That is, of course, due to the government's Operation Fast Track, which is rapidly developing vaccines and cutting the time down to get a vaccine approved from something like 4 years to maybe as quickly as 1 year. Vaccines ordinarily take an extraordinarily long time to be tested, clinical trials, and then approved by FDA, by all the regulators. Of course, something as serious as this novel coronavirus, all governments want to try and expedite the process as much as they can while trying to balance safety so we're not injecting ourselves with something that could lead to more or worse trouble down the line. And yeah, so if you know any anti-vaxxers, yeah, I'm sure they won't get the vaccine. And if they get corona, hopefully they're healthy because, yeah, I mean, we have gotten a lot better at treating corona to the point where it is not as fatal. Gilead's remdesivir, they reported as much as a 60% decrease in mortality in patients that are given remdesivir in hospital. So that is also great news. We still got a way to go. Got to get all these other states under control. I don't see what the fucking problem is about wearing a mask. Just wear a mask. Is it annoying? Yes. Is it inconvenient? Yes. You know what's worse than that? Getting sick or getting someone else sick. If you have an elderly relative, a parent, someone that is overweight, diabetes, heart issues, just why take the chance? Just stop being, hyper masculine and just wear a fucking mask. It's really not that hard. Even the president finally wore a mask after 4 months. But better late than never. Yeah, if the president's going to wear a mask, then you should wear a mask, which is part of the problem and why, why didn't he wear a mask in the first place? Because people will follow his example. But he finally fucking put one on. So, I guess we have to be thankful for that. But anyway, with all that news, of course, aside from the massive health relief that a vaccine hopefully will bring, is the economic relief in knowing that at some point, at least there is some light at the end of the tunnel, that the economy can start to come back to where it was. It's not a cure-all, of course, but to the extent that businesses can stay open, admittedly at a much lower capacity than they are used to, if they can stay open and do so safely to the point where people, there aren't super spreaders in businesses, stores, restaurants, that cause infection numbers to spike, then maybe we can get back on the road to getting back to where we were. There is light, hopefully, at the end of the tunnel. The stock market is going to reflect that. Moderna in after-hours trading today was up as high as 16%, which if you are a trader or if you follow the markets at all, 16% is a fuck ton. That is a lot of movement. Anyone who knows anything about the stock market knows that you cannot judge your comparative successes or progress by dollars and cents. You have to look at it in terms of percentages. If you've made, $100 and that's a 10% gain, that's a lot better than making $100 on, a 1% gain, because that means you've invested far more money to make that $100 than you would have if if $100 gain was a 10%. You have to look at it in terms of percentages. I know that's oversimplifying it, but you really have to look at percentages. Moderna was up 16% in after hours. I think it came back down a little bit from there. But the markets at the moment look to open markedly higher tomorrow. A rising tide lifts all boats, as Larry Kudlow used to say when he had his show on CNBC. Less enthused with Mr. Kudlow of late. He wasn't saying a whole lot of things that I really appreciated with regard to the virus. But as an economist, I do like and respect a number of his positions. But I also think that has to do with him being in the Trump administration. You can't if you're working under the executive branch or as a part of the executive branch, you cannot go against a president. Or you shouldn't go against a president. If you're working in the legislative branch, judicial branch in some cases, or if you're completely independent, like Dr. Fauci, then it's a little bit easier to refute what the president has said or claimed. Not exactly possible for the president's economic advisor, which is Larry Kudlow's title. That's like, going on national television and telling people that your boss is an idiot. So I don't think anybody would think that would be a good idea. That's just, a hypothetical, theoretical situation there. Rising tide lifts all boats, and Moderna's great news is great news for Moderna. It's great news for the country. It's great news for the stock market. It's great news for the economy. It's pretty much great news all around, provided the results continue on this trajectory and are as promising 3 or 4 months from now as they look at the very moment. Also, like I said, Pfizer and BioNTech, they are rated. Pfizer BioNTech is a joint venture, but those two companies are looking like the front runners in the vaccine, hopefully by the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So everyone's got to hang tight. I went back to work physically, and I think we're at about a quarter capacity. Everyone else is working from home. I was insistent on going back to work ASAP. I have a lot of work to catch up on, even though the courts have not really opened back up yet, and they probably won't open for a good long while, at least not to the point where I'll be able to get in there. But that doesn't mean I don't want to be prepared. I want to get going. I got kind of sick of staying at home. I'm, of course, wearing a mask because I think that's the minimally decent thing to do this day and age, no matter where or who you are. And I carry a bottle of Purell in my pocket. You know, if I touch a door handle, I touch an elevator button, or, whatever, I Purell my hand. Zzz. Is that excessive? Yeah. But I also have a beard, and I touch my face a lot, so I just don't want to transfer that shit to my face. And I'm also in the process of quitting smoking, which is fucking brutal. I used to smoke at least a half a pack a day, usually more. And I'm down to 2 cigarettes a day with a patch and gum. Try the patch. It works wonders. It gives you some crazy dreams.